Off by exploring a pretty big question. This one was posed in 2023. Discuss the role of marriage regulations in traditional societies in India for strengthening social solidarity.
Yeah, that's a fantastic starting point. It immediately gets us thinking bigger than just, two people.
Right.
Marriage, in this context, it's a powerful tool. It's about social order. You had thinkers like Edward Westermark, way back in 1921, defining it as this recognized relationship. And Emile Durkheim, the sociologist, he saw it as an integrative force, something that binds people together through shared rules, shared norms.
Okay.
So in traditional Indian societies, these rules, who you can marry, they're deeply woven into everything. Culture, religion, family systems,
Got to connect it.
all working together to keep the group strong, keep it united, social solidarity.
Okay, so not just random customs then. They're like essential parts of a societal blueprint. Can you walk us through some specific examples? How do these regulations actually build this solidarity? How do they help society stick together?
Absolutely. Let's start with endogamy.
Endogamy. Okay.
This basically just means marrying within your own specific group. Could be your caste, your community, that sort of thing.
Marrying inside your group.
Right.
That sounds like it would keep the group very distinct. How does that make the group stronger? Almost like a building team spirit.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Endogamy preserves the group's unique identity. It strengthens those internal bonds because everyone shares a similar culture, similar traditions, religious practices.
Keeps things tight.
Yeah. M.N. Srinivas, he pointed this out with caste endogamy in India. Marrying within your caste helps maintain its customs, its way of life, its place in the bigger social structure. It really fosters that internal sense of belonging.
Makes sense.
Now, the flip side is exogamy. This is where you have to marry outside your specific group. Often it's outside your clan, or what's called a gotra in India.
Okay, now this is interesting. Marrying outside your group, that seems counterintuitive if you want to strengthen your own group. How does connecting with an outside group make your own group stronger?
But it's all about building bridges, forging connections that go beyond your immediate circle.
Yeah.
Exogamy, well, first it prevents inbreeding, which is biologically important, but socially, it extends kinship ties. It connects you to other groups.
Alliances.
Exactly. You create alliances. You reduce potential hostility between different clans or villages.
Right.
Irrawaddy Karve, she looked at gotra exogamy among Hindus. You can't marry within your father's clan line, right?
Right.
She argued this actively creates unity by building these wider networks between the clans. It expands your social safety net, in a way.
Building bridges, not walls. Got it.
Then you also have things like hypergamy and hypogamy. Hypergamy is marrying up into a higher social or economic status.
Okay.
This can strengthen alliances with those higher status groups. Maybe bring social mobility or other benefits to your family. Hypogamy, marrying down, is less common, but might help integrate people from different strata.
Right, like the Anuloma marriages you mentioned from ancient India.
Precisely.
Yeah.
E.M. Hocart noted those were a kind of approved hypergamy, allowing some upward mobility, especially for women.
Fascinating. And what about those structures with multiple partners? Polygyny, polyandry. How do they fit into social harmony?
Also crucial for understanding the structure. So polygyny, one man, multiple wives, practiced by groups like the Bills. This often strengthens kinship ties across a wider extended family. It helps with economic cooperation too, sharing labor, resources.
Makes sense in certain contexts.
And polyandry, one woman, multiple husbands, often found where resources are really scarce, like among the Kinaris in Himachal Pradesh.
Why there?
Well, often it's fraternal polyandry brothers share a wife. This stops limited family resources, especially land, from being split up generation after generation. It supports the whole group.
Practical.
Very. And Claude Lévi-Strauss, he pointed out how both forms, though they look different, contribute to alliance building and resource sharing. They serve the collective good.
Okay, keep going. This is fascinating.
Then there are the cousin marriages, cross cousin and parallel cousin.
Right, explain those again.
Sure. Cross cousin is marrying the child of your parents' opposite sex sibling. So your mother's brother's child or your father's sister's child.
Okay.
Parallel cousin is marrying the child of your parents' same-sex sibling, like your mother's sister's child or your father's brother's child.
Got it. Why those specific rules?
It's often about reinforcing existing family alliances, keeping wealth consolidated within the family network. Kathleen Gaw looked at cross-cousin marriage among Dravidian groups in South India, saw it as powerfully reinforcing kinship bonds. And parallel cousin marriage may be less common, but seen among groups like the Santals, it helps keep family property together, very tightly controlled.
These examples really show how meticulously society's structured relationships. It's like social architecture.
That's a great way to put it. These regulations aren't just personal choices. They ensure a group identity, build alliances, maintain harmony.
Okay, that leads us perfectly into our next question, this one from 2021, marriage regulations and alliance theory. This helps us understand the why, right? The thinking behind these rules.
Exactly. Alliance theory, mainly developed by Claude Lévi-Strauss back in 1949, gives us a really powerful lens here.
Okay.
It basically says, look, marriage isn't primarily about romance or personal feelings. It's a crucial social mechanism for creating and maintaining alliances between entire groups.
So less you and me, more our family connecting with their family, building those bigger networks.
Precisely. It emphasizes the structural aspect. So let's quickly look at those regulations again through this lens.
Okay.
Exogamy, marrying out. Direct alliance building, right, prevents isolation. Many tribal societies use clan exogamy specifically for this.
Makes sense.
Endogamy, marrying in, seems opposite, but it preserves the group's identity, keeps resources controlled within the allied group, like the caste system.
Right.
But the real cornerstone for Lévi-Strauss, the absolute key, is the incest taboo.
The universal rule against relationships with close kin.
Universal, yeah. And he argued it's not just a moral rule, it's the fundamental starting point, the bedrock of human society.
Wow, how so? That's a big claim that the incest taboo is the engine for society. Does that mean family is built more on strategy than biology?
In a way, yes. His argument is that the taboo forces groups to look outside their immediate family for partners. It compels the exchange of individuals, typically women, in his original theory.
Okay.
And this exchange transforms biological relationships into social alliances. Marriage becomes this system of reciprocal exchange, creating interdependence, creating social glue.
So the rule creates the need for connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he talked about elementary structure societies with rigid rules like prescribed cross-cousin marriage you see in South India, very clear who you exchange with, and complex structure societies with more flexible rules, more individual choice, like modern Western societies. The exchange is less direct, more diffuse.
And this exchange, it can be equal or unequal.
Right. Symmetrical exchange is like a direct swap between two groups. Asymmetrical is more one way, like hypergamy, where women might consistently marry into higher status groups.
So how do the specific marriage rules we talked about and this big alliance theory, how do they actually fit together on the ground?
Well, the regulations are the cultural mechanics, the specific rules of the game. Alliance theory is the underlying logic, the why.
Okay.
Exogamy fits perfectly, creates networks of exchange. Think of Australian Aboriginal societies, incredibly complex systems based on this.
Right.
Even endogamy, from this view, reinforces alliances within the group, keeps wealth and status contained.
Yeah.
And things like marriage payments, bride wealth, dowry, they aren't just economic, they're symbols of this material and social exchange. Evans Pritchard's work on the Nuer in Sudan, exchanging cattle, that symbolize the alliances between clans.
It really paints marriage as a very strategic social institution. But it sounds powerful. Are there criticisms? Does alliance theory miss anything?
Oh, absolutely. Critics argue it can overemphasize the exchange aspect. What about love, emotion, romance?
The personal side.
Right. And some say there's an ethnocentric bias, maybe applying Western ideas about exchange inappropriately. And crucially, in modern societies, individual choice, love matches, legal frameworks, they're challenging these old kinship-based alliance systems.
Things are changing.
Definitely.
So stepping back, marriage is this mix of personal choice and collective strategy, and it's constantly evolving. A thought for you, listener. How might the way your society exchanges things, goods, status, information, influence how people choose partners today? Something to think about.
Good question.
Okay, let's shift gears. Let's look at how people find partners. We have a question from 2018. Ways of acquiring mate in tribal society. Very similar to a 2012 question on acquiring spouses in simpler societies. This really shows the diversity.
It really does. How people find partners in these societies is just deeply rooted in their culture, their social structure, their economics. Let's look at some methods. Some are quite unique.
Okay.
First, marriage by service. Here, the groom basically works for the bride's family for a period.
Instead of paying something.
Often, yeah. It's compensation if you can't afford a bride wealth. Among the Nagas in Northeast India, for instance, the young man might work until the family feels he's proven his worth or paid his dues.
With an extended job interview almost, proving his value through work.
You could see it that way.
Yeah.
Then there's marriage by negotiation. This is probably the most common globally, similar to what we often call arranged marriage.
Right.
Usually involves a third-party mediator, someone respected by both families, who proposes the match and helps sort things out. Bride price, bride wealth, dowry, these often play a role. Found everywhere, from the Yaturi in Congo to Hindu India, though maybe less rigid now.
Okay, that one feels more familiar.
Then marriage by exchange sometimes goes with negotiation. Basically, if you have a sister or daughter to get back, the bride price might be waived.
A direct swap.
Exactly. Creates very strong direct alliances, seen in parts of Australia, Melanesia, and among Indian tribes like the Miriagans.
Okay.
How about marriage by probation? Here, the groom actually goes to live with the bride's family for a trial period.
A trial run? Seriously?
Yeah. With everyone's consent, of course, parents, the girl. If they get along, great, marriage happens. If not, he might pay some compensation and leave. Practiced among the Kukis of Manipur.
Wow. A try before you buy approach. Very practical for compatibility.
Reflects different priorities, doesn't it? Then, marriage by capture. This can be actual physical capture.
Wow.
Yeah, men from one group raiding another for wives. Happened among the Ahomamo in Venezuela, historically with the Nagas too. Or it can be ceremonial. A boy makes a public claim, maybe at a festival, holds her hand, marks her with vermilion, seen with a Korea and beer whore.
Okay, ceremonial sounds a bit less alarming.
A bit. Then there's marriage by intrusion. This one's led by the woman.
Really?
A girl basically forces her way into the boy's house and refuses to leave until she's accepted as his wife. Takes some determination. Seen among the beer whore and hoe.
That's amazing agency.
Isn't it? We also have marriage by trial. The groom has to prove his strength, his skill, his bravery to win the bride.
Like in the old stories.
Exactly. Think of the Mahabharata, Arjuna winning Draupadi, or the Ramayana, or Rama winning Sita. It still happens among the Phils and Nagas, tests of skill or strength.
Incredible.
And finally, marriage by elopement. Sometimes it's customary maybe to avoid expensive wedding rituals like with the Karbis of Assam,
Ah.
or it happens when families disapprove, or maybe one partner just doesn't want the arranged match, so they run off together. Seen everywhere, really.
These methods just blow you away with the range of human creativity in forming partnerships. I have to ask you, listener, which of these ways of finding a partner strikes you as the most surprising, and why?
It just shows the incredible cultural diversity, doesn't it? And anthropologically, all these methods, they create alliances, they reflect economic realities, they fit kinship systems, they preserve identity. Levi-Strauss's idea of marriage as exchange really rings true here.
Okay, let's stick with this theme of who marries whom. Our next question from 2017 asks us to discuss different forms of preferential marriage with suitable examples from tribal societies in India. So, getting more specific.
Right. Preferential marriage, as Levi-Strauss noted, means there are social norms, sometimes quite strong preferences, about who you should marry. David Mandelbaum also pointed out these rules are key for maintaining social order.
So, not just rules about who you can't marry, but who you should marry.
Exactly. Let's revisit some concepts with more Indian tribal examples.
Okay.
Exogamy, marrying out. The Gonds in central India practice clan exogamy,
Yep.
essential for resource sharing, political links between clans.
Ah.
Endogamy, marrying in. The Bhils of Gujarat and Rajasthan, they often restrict marriage to their own subcaste, preserves their specific cultural identity.
Right.
Then the cousin marriages. Cross-cousin marriage, remember? Child of parents opposite sex sibling.
Yep.
Often seen as ideal for strengthening lineage bonds. The Murias, a Gond subgroup in Chhattisgarh, prefer cross-cousins. It maintains lineage continuity, avoids inbreeding.
Strategic.
Very.
Hmm.
Parallel cousin marriage, child of parents, same-sex sibling. Less common, but used sometimes to keep family wealth or land tightly held. Seen among the some Santals.
These really do feel like calculated moves for the family or group's benefit.
They often are, historically.
Mhm.
And consider levirate and sororate. Levirate. A widow marries her dead husband's brother,
Why?
keeps her and the children within his family, maintains the clan ties. The Combs of Odisha practice this to keep the family unit intact, ensure kids stay in the father's line.
Okay.
Sororate. A widower marries his dead wife's sister, helps maintain family cohesion, keeps property linked, ensures the kids are cared for by a close maternal relative. Seen among the Orations in Charkhand,
Continuity, basically.
continuity and maintaining alliances. And finally, polyandry and polygyny again.
Mhm.
Polyandry, rare, like the Kannur tribe in Himachal, historically practicing fraternal polyandry to keep land undivided.
Uh-huh.
Polygyny, more common, often linked to wealth and status.
Mhm.
The Rathore tribe in Gujarat allows wealthier men multiple wives, consolidating power and resources.
So these preferences, they aren't just suggestions. They're deeply embedded structural rules, especially in tribal societies, serving real functions for survival and order.
Precisely. They structure society.
Okay, let's pull back again. A foundational question from 2014. Define marriage and describe the various types of marriages in human societies. Back to basics, but with all this context now.
Right. Definitions matter. James Fraser defined marriage focusing on legitimacy.
Yeah.
A union, so that the children are recognized as legitimate offsprings of both partners.
Focus on the kids.
Yeah. G.P. Murdoch called it a universal institution, involving living together, economic cooperation, forming a nuclear family.
So traditionally it's about union, kids, family structure. But as we've seen, the forms it takes. Wow. That's where the diversity explodes. How flexible the definition becomes across cultures.
Absolutely. Let's quickly run through the main types again. Monogamy, one partner at a time. Most common legally today, especially in the West, can be same-sex unions too now in many places. Often implies lifelong commitment.
Okay.
Polygyny, one
Got
male, multiple wives. Permissible in Islamic societies up to 4.
Mm.
Common among groups like the Maasai for status alliances, often linked to patriarchy, economic capacity. Polyandry, one woman, multiple husbands, much less common, usually in resource-scarce areas. Often fraternal brothers sharing a wife, like among the Sherpa in the Himalayas, conserves land within
Wow.
its population. Then group marriage, or polyamory, multiple men and women in one family unit sharing responsibilities. Historical examples like the Oneida community, some early Mormon groups, challenges the idea of exclusivity.
Yeah, definitely.
And we mentioned Livrite and Sororate again. Livrite widow marries husband's brother, Zulus, Middle East. Sororate widower marries wife's sister, Apache Navajo, both about maintaining family ties and alliances after a death.
These variations are just profound. They show incredible human adaptability. For you, the listener, maybe ponder this. Which type of marriage do you think best balances individual desires with the needs of the wider society? No easy answer there.
Definitely not.
Okay, now for a modern twist. A question from 2013. Where do you situate live-in relationship within the institution of marriage? This gets right into how things are changing now.
Yeah, this is a great question for today. Traditionally, marriage is formal, legal, religious, social recognition. Malinowski saw it for legitimate kids, Levi-Strauss for alliances.
Right, the functions we discussed.
But live-in relationships cohabiting without the formal marriage contract, they challenge these traditional ideals. They really emphasize individual autonomy, companionship, mutual consent, often over the legal stuff or the rituals.
So choosing connection without the traditional baggage, perhaps, how do they stack up against marriage?
We can see clear contrasts. Legal recognition, marriage is binding, rights and duties. Live-in, generally non-binding, though that's changing legally in some places. Social framework. Marriage is deep in cultural religious norms. Live-in often challenges those norms, less institutionalized.
Right.
Purpose. Marriage traditionally focuses on reproduction, inheritance, alliances. Live-in often prioritizes companionship, autonomy, consent.
Kinship and lineage. Marriage formalizes kinship ties. Live-in doesn't usually create those formal structures.
Less about connecting families.
Often, yes, stability. Marriage is seen as stable due to legal social backing. Live-in is seen as flexible, maybe less stable, though that's debatable.
Yeah.
And adaptability. Marriage evolves but has rituals. Live-in is super adaptive, informal, reflects modern values of choice.
This really makes you ask, doesn't it? As societies change so fast, how do we even define what counts as a family or a committed partnership anymore?
That's the core issue. Anthropologists like Margaret Mead would say relationships just vary culturally, reflecting shifts like growing individualism.
Makes sense.
Anthony Giddens talked about the pure relationship, where emotional intimacy is the main goal, not external pressures. And Sherlin described the deinstitutionalization of marriage, where alternatives like just living together become more common, replacing older structures.
So are live-in relationships complementing marriage or challenging it? Or both?
Probably both. They could be complementary.
Yeah.
Many see them as a step towards marriage, a way to test compatibility. Like in Sweden, it's a very normal phase.
A trial period, like marriage by probation.
Huh. In a modern way, yes. But they also challenge traditional marriage, especially its patriarchal aspects, by emphasizing individual choice over family expectations. Think about the Supreme Court judgments in India, giving them legitimacy.
Right.
And they contribute to the evolution of family structures. They focus on emotional bonds, which is important for maybe LGBTQ plus couples, where formal marriage wasn't always an option.
But surely there are downsides or challenges. It can't all be smooth sailing.
Oh, definitely not. There's often social stigma, especially in more conservative places. A big one is the lack of legal safeguards compared to marriage. Things like inheritance, property rights, alimony can be very unclear.
Yeah, that's a risk.
And they do challenge traditional kinship systems by bypassing those formal alliance-building aspects.
So for you listening, are live-in relationships a threat to traditional marriage or just the next step in how people choose to partner up and live? Something to chew on. Okay, final deep dive for today. Another question from 2013. How does taboo serve as a means of social control? This moves us to the unspoken rules, the invisible forces.
Right. Taboo, from the Polynesian tapu, means a prohibition, imposed by society, rooted in belief, religion, tradition, custom. Anthropologists like Fraser and Durkheim saw taboos as really powerful ways to maintain order.
How did Fraser define it?
He called it a system of social prohibitions aimed at preventing harm or misfortune by avoiding certain behaviors, objects, or people. Basically, they tell you what's acceptable, discourage you from stepping out of line, and promote group cohesion.
So taboos are like invisible fences, keeping society on track, guardrails.
Precisely. Let's look at how they work. First, norm enforcement. Taboos define the norms. The classic example. Incest is taboo almost everywhere. Prevents genetic issues, sure, but critically, maintains family structure, prevents chaos. Second, the fear of sanctions. Taboos work because people fear the consequences. Supernatural punishment, being shunned by the community, maybe even legal trouble. Break a food taboo, like eating beef for traditional Hindus. You could face serious social exclusion.
Powerful deterrent.
Very. Taboos often surround ritual and sacredness. Things, places, times that are sacred often have taboos around them to ensure respect. Think of sacred groves in Africa, taboo to enter, which also protects the environment.
Ah, interesting link.
Yeah. They help regulate resources. Taboos on hunting certain animals at certain times, like among the Inuit, prevent overexploitation. Sustainable management, basically. Taboos build social cohesion. Sharing the same prohibitions creates a collective identity. Fasting during Ramadan is a great example, strengthens that communal bond. They can maintain hierarchy, restricting access or behavior based on status. In caste societies, taboos on inter-caste dining or marriage were brutally effective at upholding stratification, and they even regulate emotions and behavior. Mourning taboos, for instance, dictate how you should act, how long you should grieve publicly, maintaining decorum.
Wow. So taboos, even if they seem irrational or archaic to outsiders, play this huge, often hidden role in making societies function, defining who we are and how we act.
Exactly. Think about examples. Kinship, the incest taboo, is foundational. Food taboos like pork for Jews and Muslims maintain religious purity, group identity. Gender roles taboos around menstruation in many cultures regulate interactions, often reinforcing certain power structures.
And the environmental link.
Yeah, environmental management. Conservation taboos among the Maori protecting species. Sanitation taboos, don't defecate near water, basic public health. And rituals, taboos on handling corpses entering sacred sites, Zulu example, ensure reverence.
It's truly eye-opening how much these unspoken rules govern us. For you listening, can you think of any unspoken rules or maybe even subtle taboos in your own life or society that still act as social control today, even if we don't explicitly label them?
A lot to consider there.
Wow, okay, we have covered so much ground today. Let's try and quickly recap this incredible journey through marriage and society.
Okay, we started by defining marriage universal, but incredibly diverse, shaped by culture, society, economics. We saw how marriage regulations in India, like endogamy, marrying in, and exogamy, marrying out, weren't random but key for social solidarity, group identity, and building alliances.
Right. Then we linked those rules to alliance theory. Levi-Strauss helped us see marriage as this fundamental way groups build connections, not just individuals, driven, surprisingly, fascinated by the need to avoid incest and exchange partners.
Exactly. Then we explored the amazing variety of ways people acquire mates in tribal or simpler societies: service, negotiation, exchange, probation, capture, intrusion, trial, elopement, each reflecting different values.
Just fascinating. We also dove into preferential marriage, cross-cousin, parallel cousin, levirate, sororate, polyandry, polygyny, seeing how these aren't just preferences, but designed to maintain order, keep wealth together, preserve lineage. Very strategic.
Very. And then we jump to the modern day, wrestling with live-in relationships. How do they fit? They challenge traditional marriage by emphasizing autonomy, but also complement it, maybe as a step towards it in evolution.
And we finished by understanding taboos, those powerful, often invisible forces of social control, shaping everything from family rules to environmental practices, defining what's acceptable.
It really shows how interconnected everything is.
What an exploration. From ancient rules to modern questions, marriage really is this incredible lens for understanding the complex fabric, the evolving story of human society.
Absolutely.
So here's something to maybe mull over until our next deep dive, perhaps that coffee we mentioned. How much of your own understanding of marriage, partnership, even just normal behavior is actually shaped by these deep historical patterns, these societal taboos that maybe you don't even consciously think about?
A challenging thought.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this exploration has given you a richer, maybe more nuanced view of relationships and how they hold societies together.
Hope so too.
Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.